Imagine deceiving an entire nation with nothing but a black rock in your hand. Not just deceiving, but convincing the world's most powerful queen to invest a fortune equivalent to a country's annual budget into this mere stone. Sounds insane? Yet one man pulled it off, Martin Frobisher. Officially a daring explorer, unofficially a pirate with the vision of a prophet and the cunning of a swindler. He promised England not just a new trade route, but mountains of pure gold, supposedly discovered in the icy Arctic wilderness. And they believed him. They believed so implicitly that 3 massive expeditions were outfitted, sending hundreds of people to the ends of the earth for worthless ore. This is not a story of a great discovery. This is the story of the greatest swindle of the 16th century. But to pull off such a feat, one had to be more than just an adventurer. One had to be a man with nothing to lose. Frobisher grew up without a father. His mother, unable to feed the family, sent him from their remote home to London, into the care of a relative. There, amidst the glitter of city mansions and the stench of harbor gutters, the boy learned his life's most crucial lesson. The world is unfair. He saw how titles and gold opened every door, while he, a low-born boy from the north, was left with nothing but scraps from others' tables. The sea became his only escape. It taught him not navigation, but survival, that rules were made to be broken, and that conscience was a luxury only lords could afford. It was there, amidst the salty spray and gunpowder smoke, that he made his decision. If the world wouldn't give him a chance to get rich honestly, he would take what was his by force and cunning. He chose the perfect moment for his schemes. 16th century England was practically choking with envy. Across the Channel, Spain grew fat on American gold, and every silver-laden ship was a slap in the face to Queen Elizabeth. Her treasury was empty, the country on the brink of war, and enemies lurked everywhere. In London taverns, whispers of fabulous Inca cities abounded, and any captain who promised to find a new El Dorado instantly became a hero. Law at the time was as blurred as the horizon in a storm. Plundering Spanish ships was called patriotism, and pirates were hailed as admirals. In this mad world, obsessed with greed and national humiliation, all that was needed was a single push, a spark. And Frobisher offered them more than just gold. He offered hope, a chance to defy the world. And so he began to act. First, with daring raids on French merchant ships under the guise of a privateering license. Then, when that wasn't enough, he turned his attention to the Spanish, the crown's chief enemies. But Frobisher was no patriot. He was a predator. He seized 5 ships laden with wine and wool and was thrown into prison like any common brigand. It seemed like the end. But he got out. No one knows how, whether he sweet-talked the judges or bribed the guards. But he emerged even more brazen and embittered. He then pulled off the most audacious act of his piratical career, seizing an entire fleet of Dutch ships laden with salt right in English waters. It was a scandal, yet instead of the gallows, he received nothing. The authorities needed a man like him, unprincipled, ruthless, and utterly fearless, someone who could do all the dirty work. Frobisher possessed a singular talent. He read people like a sea chart. He saw their fears, their ambitions, and most importantly, their bottomless greed. He never argued or rattled off facts. Instead, he looked directly into one's eyes with such unshakable confidence that the interlocutor began to doubt reality itself. His main trick was making you an accomplice to a great secret, lowering his voice as if entrusting it only to you. He masterfully spread rumors, creating a frenzy out of thin air. His crew was part of the show. He selected men not so much for their skills as for their demeanor. Stern, weather-beaten faces, scars, a silent ruthlessness in their gaze. These pirates were his props, living proof that he had been to places others feared even to imagine. He didn't just tell a story, he made you want to be a part of it. He wasn't selling an idea, he was selling belief in himself. But even the most convincing man needs a patron. Frobisher found the ideal one, Michael Locke, a wealthy merchant obsessed with finding the Northwest Passage to Asia. Locke had spent years and a fortune on maps and calculations, but he lacked one thing, a man capable of breaking through ice and cracking heads. Frobisher was that man. Locke gave him money and access to the court. Frobisher gave him ruthless force and a legend. But this alliance had a mortal enemy, Richard Martin, head of the Royal Mint, a man who held all the country's gold in his hands and could distinguish it from a common rock with his eyes closed. He immediately declared Frobisher's ore worthless. He wrote reports, demanded new assays, and implored the Queen's advisors to reconsider. It was a battle of life and death, the cold calculation of a professional against the fervent belief of adventurers. The entire treasury of England hung in the balance, and the adventurers won. Prudence was buried under greed. Frobisher received his third, most massive expedition, and this became his fatal mistake. He brought back to England 1,300 tons of black ore. Such a mountain could no longer be hidden or faked, and then the house of cards collapsed. Committee after committee, assay after assay, all yielded the same answer. It wasn't gold. It was pyrite, fool's gold. Investors howled with rage, and Michael Locke, his loyal partner, was the first to stab him in the back. Ruined and desperate, he publicly accused Frobisher of everything. He railed that Frobisher was a deceiver who had known the truth all along and had hidden the real gold vein somewhere. The great Arctic dream ended in a messy brawl between two swindlers trying to drag each other down. All of England tallied its losses. Queen Elizabeth lost a fortune that could have built an entire war fleet. Dozens of lords and merchants who had invested everything they owned in the Arctic mirage were ruined. And the mountains of treasure? The 1,300 tons of useless stone were simply dumped onto the roads of Dartford to pave over the mud. England's greatest investors literally walked on their shattered dreams. The authorities' reaction was swift and harsh. For the first time in the country's history, a law was passed. Henceforth, all ore mining had to undergo the strictest state inspection before a single penny could be invested in it. The era of blind faith in adventurers ended. The era of great distrust began. And what of Frobisher himself, the country's greatest swindler? He wasn't hanged. He wasn't even prosecuted, because England once again needed a pirate. When the Spanish Armada darkened the horizon, no one remembered the black stones. Everyone remembered the captain who feared neither devil nor storm. His ruthlessness became courage, and his greed, patriotism. For his battle against the Spanish, the very queen he had so brazenly deceived knighted him. This is the main paradox of his life. He didn't find gold for England. He himself became its dark myth. A myth that in a new, brutal world, victory goes not to the righteous, but to the audacious. He left behind not treasures, but an idea. You can be a nobody, fail at the greatest undertaking of your life, and still die a hero. You just need to choose the right moment to direct your fury at the right enemy.